Hello, everybody, and welcome to another New Player Guide. Today we're talking about Hank Samson, the farmhand who's looking for par. Hank is a little bit of a unique investigator because he has this bonded version that he can turn into. His stats line in his base version, the Warden. Well, I guess they're all Wardens. No, not the Assistant.
He's Assistant Warden. He turns into Assistant
Resolute and Warden Resolute. Okay. Yeah. My mistake. So his regular version is a 3-1-5-3. You may be assigned damage and horror dealt to ally assets or other investigators at your location. As a reaction, when you would be defeated by damage and or horror, instead, heal all of your damage and horror and swap this card with one of its your bonded Resolute versions, either side face up. Elder Sign effect is just a +1, no ability on that. And he has 5 and 5 for his health.
It's so funny.
It is. Yeah, it's just +1, baby. His Assistant Resolute version, the 3-3-4-4 and 4-6 for his soak. You cannot be healed. You may be assigned damage or horror dealt to other ally or investigators at your location. As a reaction, when one or more horror is placed on you, you draw a card. And his Elder Sign effect is now +1, move one horror from Hank Samson to an asset you control. The Warden version is a 4-1-6-3. Six fists. They've done it. The number we were like, when are we going to see a 6 blank investigator? It's Hank Samson, baby. You cannot be healed. You may be assigned damage or horror to dealt to other ally or investigators at your location. And when one more damage is placed on you, you gain 2 resources. Elder Sign effect is pluses. Move 1 damage from Hank Samson to an asset you control. Notably, soaks for 6 health instead of 4 sanity. Hank's cool because he can tank really well. Basically, if you have ways to like tank your own damage on assets you control, you can kind of just like help your opponent, your teammates out.
Hank's cool because he has 6 punch, Justin.
That's also why Hank is cool, but we're talking about
Disagree.
I'm covering that right now. And you die, and then you come back stronger than you could ever imagine.
Stronger than anyone can imagine, except for Calvin when he's like dead.
Yes. And that's the thing. Hank comes back at full health. Notably,
6 and 4, baby.
in this guide, we're only talking about the revised core and the Feast of Hemlock Vale expansion. Just because this is a new player guide, so we're focused on people who are maybe just buying into the game.
Well, that's what the deck's built with. We'll probably talk about other cards too.
Probably throughout. Yeah. Notably on that, I'm going to just do a quick shout out. The Circle Undone campaign just came out recently. And I think Hank might actually be not unironically, an actual user of the red tarot card because he gets to trigger it twice, which I think is kind of nice for Hank Samson because you get that extra +1 health and +1 sanity twice. So if you have the Return to Circle Undone, you can also add that to the upgrades.
Try it so we don't have to.
Oh no, don't worry, I'm probably gonna be trying it out.
Yeah, I'm sure you do everything, man. You need content for something.
Well, no, it's in there. And when I'm playing Hank, if you're playing Kohaku, I'm probably gonna be trying that out because I want to actually use Hank's ability to take damage for you guys occasionally.
No, just show up with 6 fists.
No, because I know if I try and I'm like, I'm at my location and you take like 1 damage, you're going to look at me and you're going to be like, I only have 6. You have to help me.
Justin, you could have 2 resources. What are you doing?
Yeah. So I know I'm going to have to, yeah. All right, but let's talk about the deck that we have here. No, we're not there yet. Sorry,
no, we're still talking about Hank.
Still going to talk about Hank. All right. His deck building is 35 cards, so he's a bigger deck than others because he also has so many fists to like carry his deck in.
Yeah, that caught me off guard. I was building this deck and I had like 3 cards. That's it. And then they were like, "This deck has too few cards."
You're like, what the heck? So he gets Survivor card 0 to 5, Neutral 0 to 5, up to 10 other innate and/or spirit cards level 0 to 2. His signature, Stout-Hearted, is a very powerful event. 2 cost. Fast play when you engage a non-elite enemy. Move up to 2 damage and or horror from Hank Samson to that enemy as damage. This doesn't count as healing. So if you are in your Resolute version, you are able to move that damage because of that. Because moving damage is not healing.
Moving.
Where's Par is his signature weakness. Discard cards to the top of the encounter deck until an enemy is discarded. Attach Where's Par to that enemy and spawn at a connecting location if able. Attached enemy gains Elusive. Elusive! As far as I'm aware, I haven't internalized it fully, I've said this previously, but elusive means if an enemy is attacked or attacks, they will disengage and move to a connecting location if able. At the end of the round, Hank Samson takes 1 direct horror. Notably, this will always deal you 1 direct horror when you draw it, because if you draw it like the end of the round, it will deal you that 1 direct horror during upkeep. well, after upkeep. You were going to say something?
Yeah, I was gonna say I actually really like this weakness flavor wise, where like it's just like some random cultist or something. He knows nothing about Hank, nothing about his family,
Yeah.
and Hank's just chasing after him, being with a shovel or a
Yeah.
pitchfork or whoever. He's like, "Where's my dad?
Where
Where's
is
Pa?" Because it's like, oh god.
Yeah. 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 It's true. I mean, you read Hank's like story right now, right? Like,
Yeah.
Pa just disappeared, and you don't leave Pa. You don't. Family ain't left behind. Family ain't left behind.
Yep.
All right, now we can talk about the deck. So, Travis, why don't you take these ones away?
Okay. We got a pitchfork. Or one thing that's worth noting is with the bonded stuff is one of them has 3 book and like not 6 fist, and you could play that if you wanted to get clues and stuff like that. I believe that there's some options for that in the upgrades if you want to kind of pivot to that, but especially considering there isn't any other like real fighter in the Hemlock Vale expansion. Like Wilson Riches, your guardian, he can fight, but he gets like he's pretty limited in what weapons he's using because he wants to use the tools, and he's at 4 or 5 with.
He's more of a flex fighter than a pure fighter.
Yeah, but Hank has 6 punch, so we're here building a fighter deck. Though it could be flex if you wanted to, but like we punch.
Yeah, we're here to punch.
Yeah, with this pitchfork. Pitchfork's 3 cost asset, takes up both of your hand slots. Wow, it's an item tool melee weapon melee, even though you presumably throw it. Anyway, you fight, you get +1 punch and deal +2 damage for this attack. If the attack is successful, lose control of Pitchfork and attach to your location. Your location gains action, take control of Pitchfork. Any investigator at Pitchfork's location may trigger this ability. Is good. 3 damage per attack is pretty sick. That's enough to take down most enemies.
3 damage is really high. But this is not like a weapon that is reliable, because if you lose it and you have to pick it up, you have to just be aware of that. So it's not like a machete, which you have in your core set that you look at and you just think, oh, I just attacked 3 times with the machete. You kind of need to like work the pitchfork and plan the pitchfork a little bit.
I think this is a really efficient weapon actually for Hank to deal with like non-elite enemies.
I agree. No, I agree, because like that's what I was going to say. But like 3 damage is a lot of damage. It's going to kill the majority of things. And anything that has like 4 HP, for example, which is a pretty common number, it's still just going to take you 2 actions, because you're going to have 6 punch, or even like if you're still in your normal version, 5 is a lot, right? 5 is a lot of punch to go through.
Yeah, like this does give you +1 punch as a weapon, but like the difference between 6 and 7 is not that much.
Yeah,
like
that's the thing. Like it works really well. For just base Hank. It also works like, good for high Hank, because then you can just like punch with your regular 6 fist, because it's kind of like you are the weapon.
Kind of.
And also, like, I've already seen it myself that take control pitchfork action, any investigator can lose that. I've seen like just like a freaking goon with like like a seeker with 2 fists grab it, stab something with Hank like committing a card, and then Hank just picks it up and kills something else.
Sick.
It's like, I
Teamwork,
think it's actually a pretty cool card. But if it's your only, like, you just need to know that you can't just like, I'm gonna just attack 3 times with this. You need to like,
I think it's
song and dance a bit.
Yeah, I think this card's got a lot of neat stuff going for it, especially like when you get into later scenarios and stuff and Hank has access to other weapons. You can like pass it off as a strong weapon to your flex or whatever and have them still be able to fight things like a big boss monster, instead of them they can be more clue focused in the deck that they have, and then you can like effectively give them a weapon with a pitchfork.
Yeah. My favorite, you can also like plan for like when you have a lot of weapons. I think Hank, like in a full collection, you're limited on options for this one, but like a full collection, you're going to want to be running like 8 weapons that you can like kind of like cycle through. So what you do is you kill an enemy, leave the pitchfork there, and then like come back later and grab it. You can kill with other weapons. There's
hit stuff with your baseball bat till it breaks, or
what sold me on this, I'm going to say this spoiler free, but in the first scenario of Path to Carcosa, there's a reoccurring boss enemy. I killed an enemy at the location he appears at, left the thing there, came back like 5 turns later when he was going to respawn, picked it up, and then like stabbed it the next turn. It just felt like it requires just a lot of cool things, but I think it's going to be a fun card with a lot of good stories to come from it.
Yeah. And
also 3 damage is a lot.
It is a lot, yeah. Next up, we got Pelt Shipment. This is a blank asset, so you can't play it. While it's in your hand, your maximum hand size is reduced by 3. which shouldn't be an issue because we have not very much card draw. And as a reaction when the game ends or you resign, if Pelt Shipment's in your hand, you reduce the experience cost of the next new card you purchase before the next scenario by 1. The big thing this does for Hank in this deck is there aren't a lot of like direct upgrades between the cards you have and the experience cards from the core set or Hemlock Vale, so this helps. I mean, it's kind of free. So just free experience, man.
Yeah.
If you ever play Mystic, you know.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that if you are like, if you find it earlier and you're like starting to get down by it, just discard it. Like just get rid of it, right? If you're gonna like lose a lot of other stuff.
Yep.
But if you get it late in the game, just hold on to it.
Yeah.
Right?
Why not?
Yep.
Next we got Sparrow Mask. This is a 1-cost asset. It is limit 1 mask per investigator. This is a mask, yes. It uses 2 offerings. You replenish one of these offerings after you take 1 or more damage or horror. If they're only their way, consistently do that, Hank. And then as a lightning bolt, you can spend one of these offerings to either get 2 brain or 2 foot for a skill test, limit once per test. So that pushed you up to like a really comfortable 5 or 5. And then depending on which version of Hank you are, either 5 and 6 or 6 and 5, which is pretty good. And yeah, taking damage is something you're gonna probably doing.
Yep.
So
And then the nice thing is like,
should probably play these.
yeah, it's like super easy to just like not die when you have this in play, because you can kind of just take the damage you want to take with this, and this stops you from taking the damage you don't want to take.
Yeah, it's like it's actually like drawing 1 less Mythos card every turn.
Yeah.
Because you get to pass your test on yours and you take damage for someone else's.
Yeah.
For your Seeker. Because they deserve it.
They do. They're doing all the hard work.
Yeah.
You're just killing enemies. What does that matter?
It doesn't. Next we have Bide Your Time. This is a 0-cost event. It commits for a while. It's a double, so as an additional cost to play, you have to spend an action. During your next turn, you can take 2 additional actions. So this one is mostly here as a way to effectively use your actions during your off turns. Instead of sitting there and being like, oh, I'm going to gain 2 resources I don't really need, or like I may as well draw a card or whatever because I'm not doing anything else, you can like plan for the worst kind of and play this, and then next turn you get 5 actions to deal with whatever monsters you drew instead of like 3.
Yep.
Which, you know, if you have an off turn because no one drew a monster, then the odds that you're going to draw more than 1 monster next turn are better, and it makes taking more actions next turn better.
And alternatively as well too, well, as a new player, you might not have the anticipation of knowing when a boss is going to show up. Sometimes you can be like, we're going to advance the act next turn or the agenda next turn. I have nothing to do. I'm going to do that here and get ready for like something big.
Yep. So what are you doing investigating with your 1 book? Come on, man.
We have Elaborate Distraction. This is a 3-cost event. This is also a double. So it costs an additional action to play. It does not provoke attacks of opportunity. For each enemy at your location and each connecting location, choose 1. Automatically evade that enemy if it is non-elite and deal 1 damage to that enemy. This is just a nice, simple, quiet card that allows you to potentially pick off 1 health enemies. If you've played through the core set, you know, like Acolytes are going to be something that like is an example of that. If you've played through Dunwich, you know that Whippoorwills are an example of that. And if there's no time you want to use this card, you can just, you know, commit it for its icons. But also, like, evading all the enemies can be a good way to, like, you know, give everyone a little bit of air while you, with your last action, pick up your pitchfork and get ready to stab some people.
Yeah. I get why this is like a trick for game mechanic reasons, because this is like Rhea can play it and it's more of a red thing than like tactics are.
Yep.
But is lighting a building on fire really a trick?
No. No, this should be illicit. This should probably be illicit too.
Yeah, like,
it should be an illicit tactic.
Didn't clearly guess that little disconnect there between the art direction and the...
Push to the Limit. This is a 2-cost tactic improvised event. Choose a weapon or tool asset in your discard pile. Resolve an action ability on that asset, ignoring all its costs, including its action cost. And that's effect. After this effect resolves, shuffle the chosen asset into your deck. Playing this card does not provoke attacks of opportunity. I think this is really nice for Hank because you are playing cards like Baseball Bat and Pitchfork. And this allows you to kind of just like, if they're in your discard pile or you commit them because you already have one in play or stuck to something, this allows you to attack with them, get them back into your deck to draw them later and use them again. I think that there's a lot of fun stuff that you can do with that. And if you get more weapon assets as well as your collection grows, Push the Limit is only going to become better and better because of that. Yeah, I think it's a cool card.
What happens if the asset stops being in play before the effect resolves?
So we had to choose from your discard pile, right?
Yeah.
Like, what are you thinking?
Like if you had a card that after a skill test ends, you return it to your hand.
Great question. I think I'm gonna wager that the push to the limit takes precedence over everything else. Just what my guess is. I don't know the answer to that
You
though.
wouldn't know what card it was once it's in your hand.
I don't know, man. I don't know. That's just what I just have to go with what I feel, and that's what I feel. That this kind of like takes all of it. Because I know people were asking about like what happens with the pitchfork. I'm pretty sure the pitchfork will. I mean, but this was different because it doesn't change like game zones in the same way, right?
Well, yeah, like it's still the same. In this case, it's still the same game object that was put into play. It doesn't matter like who controls it or what. It's still there.
But the hand is a different case. I don't know the answer to that.
Or if it like got put back into your graveyard discard pile, right? Like if you swung with a baseball bat and broke it.
Yeah, I think I don't know, but my guess is that it goes back in, but. I can't explain why I think that. That's just what I feel. Wrong place, right time is a zero-cost event. Commits for a brain, a foot, and a wild, so it's a guts or a manual dexterity. As additional cost to play it, spend an action. This is a double card. Move up to 5 damage and/or horror from your investigator to assets controlled by an investigator's your location. For each asset defeated by this effect, draw 1 card. Remove wrong place, right time from the game. You know, looking through this, we actually don't actually in his kit have a lot of things to put damage and horror on. At least at the level 0.
No, we got what leather coat?
And then another coat we can upgrade into.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that like it's even if it just moves like 2 onto something that you have soak or 4 once we see our upgraded version, it's a way that you can like heal without actually like healing.
Well, you also put it onto other people's allies. If
that's right.
Else has like second copy of their ally in their hand and a spare action. Yeah, you can like I need to heal 3. We're killing your Dr. Milan or whatever.
Yeah.
And you can have you get the card, they don't. But you know.
Yeah. I mean they got a new Dr. Milan, right?
Well, they have to pay for it, yeah.
But if you're like looking good and you don't need to, this commits for great symbols. And then if you have like a bigger collection, even just getting like Path to Carcosa will really open up this card more by getting Cherished Keepsake.
This card is very similar to Perseverance in my mind for Hank.
Yeah. Long shot. Throw a brick at an enemy. You may commit long shot to a fight or evasion test against an enemy at your location or connecting location. If the test is successful, deal 1 damage to that enemy. Just vicious blow.
It's just vicious blow.
However, it is.
I was gonna say it's practice vicious blow, but vicious blow is practice too.
It's actually surprising how much the evade actually goes up as well. Because someone's just evading an enemy, and you're like, "Oh, you're up 4. Let's throw a brick at this guy too," and then you just like slowly pass.
That's what you get for not getting the +1, right?
Exactly.
I do like that as practice. Like Hank just hangs out in the field and throws bricks at people.
It's just. Bar, there's some of them crazy cultists. It's like, no, it's just the mailman.
He's throwing them at the cows or whatever. Hank, you throwing bricks to cows again?
No. No par. All right. Corset. What do you
okay.
take these ones?
We got baseball bat. This is our other like good level 0 weapon we got. The other one on our deck. Again, it's 2-handed. 2 money to play. As an action you fight, you get +2 fist attack. It deals +1 damage. If a skull or a all-fail symbol is revealed during this attack, you discard the baseball bat after the attack resolves. One thing to note is that because we only have like 4 weapons in our 35 card deck, there really just aren't a ton of options. I don't really want to play Knife Man. I guess you could, but like I don't want to. You want a hard mulligan for the baseball bat and or pitchfork. You realistically in those first couple scenarios want to throw your entire hand back to try and get those.
Yeah, like if you were gonna play Knife, I don't really know what I'd cut looking at this list.
Unexpected Courage.
Yeah.
Probably.
But you're gonna want to turn it into a hatchet like immediately.
Yeah, like you should buy another weapon as soon as you can.
Yep, that's priority number 1.
Yeah, baseball bat you hit for 2 is good. You hit for 2 damage at like 7 or 8 fists. That's great.
And it works really well with push to the limit.
Yeah,
if it doesn't break. Yeah.
Don't draw the skull.
Yeah, just don't.
Yep.
It's easy.
Rabbit's Foot takes per accessory slot. When you fail a skill test, you exhaust Rabbit's Foot, draw a card. Probably won't fail a skill test though. You got like infinite brain and foot and fist, and the game doesn't test book unless you want to. So no. But it's here. Then we got Leather Coat. This takes heart damage for you. really important and gets you extra uses. Ensures that you get the card draw you want out of your Warden passive ability or reaction ability when you want it. And also it takes up your body slot, which nothing else here does, I'm pretty sure.
Upgrades.
Nope. We got Look What I Found. This was here because I realized I needed 35 cards for the deck, and there's only so many options. This one is a way to get clues.
Yeah, can we be honest? Like, it is here. Like, it's here and like it doesn't fit, but at the same time,
It does.
It's like you just go to Shroud location and you're like, I got these clues, like they're mine, and like it's really good, and it fits everywhere, even with a 1-book investigator. Even though you might be like, but why would I investigate? Because with a 2 Shroud location, no matter what, if you fail by 2 or less.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like you can still get the 2 clues. You can commit it to your Seeker or whatever. It's like, it's good.
It's good.
Okay, man, it's a good card.
It's very good, yeah. We got Cunning Distraction. This is a 1 of in the deck, 5 cost, automatically evade all enemies your location.
Number 35, baby.
Number 35. It's kind of like the Elaborate Distraction, just cheaper. Only the Elaborate Distraction is cheaper, but it costs additional action to make up for that.
Better symbols on this.
Better symbols on this, yeah. Emergency Cash gives you 3 money, which is good because this deck actually does curve up pretty high. But luckily, we have an upgrade that's also going to help us with the curve if you are worried about your resources. Lucky is just a really good card. Fast, play when you fail skill test, get +2 skill value for that test. Be lucky,
Very good.
right? Then we got Guts, commits for 2 brain. And why is Guts good, Travis?
That's my turn.
It's your turn.
I thought you were going to do it. Well, Guts is good because when you do things in the game, you usually use your book to investigate, or your fist to fight, or your foot to evade things, which leaves the brain as the odd one out. Because of this, the majority of Mythos cards that ask you to make a test, ask you to test your brain to make use of it, make you care about it. So this is a good defensive card to have during the Mythos phase, as you want that brain to be as high as possible, as frequently as possible, to not suffer the bad effects of the card, because the Mythos card doesn't do anything to you. It's like the game doesn't get a turn.
Yep.
Also, it draws you a card, which is great.
Yep. Then we got Overpower and Unexpected Courage. Overpower gives you 2 fists, replaces itself. You're going to be punching things. 7 fist or 8 fist, those are high numbers. And like that's just like even just by yourself. Like that's the real impressive part. Like that's just you.
You just show up with your level 0 deck or whatever, and like you're like, ah.
And then we have Unexpected Courage, which is 2 wilds. Just commit it where needed.
Yep.
Okay.
Apply where needed.
Let's go on to the experience cards from Hemlock Vale. Starting off with Strong Armed. This is another Vicious Blow, which you're in your core set, so you should be aware of that card by now. It's an innate 1 experience skill while it's committed to an attack using a melee or ranged asset, which happens to be all of the things that we have here.
Yep.
It deals +1 damage, and after revealing Chaos tokens for the skill test, you may take 1 damage to cancel that Chaos token, return the Chaos bag, and reveal a new one. You may do this any number of times.
Kind of insane with his Warden version.
Yes, because it turns it into, that one's cards or resources?
To draw as many cards as you want. No, that one's resources.
But it's still really good, right?
Yeah, you like fight a guy and you're like, I just need 6 resources this turn. You have them.
Yeah. And it's also just like, if you don't want to, like, if you don't need the resources, it still just like stops the autofail. Basically says, hey, how much damage do you want to take until you pass the test? Because you can do that. Second Wind. It's a 0 cost event. Play only as your first action. Heal, do damage. 3 instead if you do a treachery this round.
God.
That's a lot.
That replaces itself.
And yeah, it replaces itself. Draw a card. Also, great symbols on it as well.
It does, yeah.
Notably, you cannot use this card in your Resolute version. But if you're playing one of those things where like your goal is to get there like by the boss battle, this is a great way to make sure you can actually get there by the boss battle.
Yeah, like having 5 fists is perfectly fine for the first couple scenarios, first half of scenario or whatever. And this like just extends your period you're in that. And then also when you're in Resolute, it commits its Guts.
Yep.
Guts is good.
Guts is good. Why is Guts good, Travis?
I'm not doing it again. Once per video, Justin.
We're only going to do it 5 or 6 times a year.
Yeah.
Hatchet. 2 cost, 1 experience. This is the weapon we were talking about previously that you want to be looking at adding. Takes up your hand slot because it's a weapon. You see a hand on the art, it checks out.
Yep.
Fight. Add your foot to your skill value for this test. 8. Huh?
How does a foot help you throw the hatchet?
So, like, you know how I always like was like in
it's like you step forward, so if you don't have a foot, you just like fall over.
Yes. Well, it's one of those things that I always say, like, in Mansions of Madness, the guns use your foot. They use your dexterity.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is like it's like the ornate bow. And I wish like from the get-go, guns actually used foot. I think that would be pretty cool. However, we're long past that at this point.
Yep.
But this attack deals +1 damage, and if it defeats an enemy, you discard Hatchet. Otherwise, lose control of Hatchet and attach it to the attacked enemy. Attached enemy gains. As a reaction, when attached enemy is defeated, take control of Hatchet. Any investigator at Hatchet's location may trigger this ability. So, like Pitchfork, this is not just a weapon you can just throw at anything. You need to like think like, and the question is actually really easy. It's, am I going to discard my Hatchet if I throw this? Just don't do that.
Well, so it's actually like there's a lot of like we've presented this kind of as like a very smooth brain, you attack things deck, but it's not. There's a lot of juggling to be done because of the hand slots between the hatchet and the pitchfork, where both of your other weapons are two-handed, hatchet's only one-handed. So you need to like convince your teammates to hold things for you and then attack them later.
Alternatively, if you're using some of our new, like if you're playing 3-player new deck guides, play Kohaku, Wilson Richards, and play Wilson Richards, Hank, and Kate. Because then you just ask your Wilson Richards to make your pitchfork take one less hand slot.
Yeah.
And then like you just start going nuts with it. And
or you're like, hey, would you like to use these tools to kill things? He's like, okay.
Because it is kind of one of those things that you need to like actively think. It's especially true with this deck because the weapons are like more limited. But it's a really fun dance. The Hatchet's a fun card to play, and it's also pretty powerful. Because if someone else defeats the enemy, a lot of people are going to have high foot to be able to take advantage of it as well. You can like just keep going around.
Probably.
Just kind of have some fun with it. We got Persistence, a 1 experience skill, commits for a wild, innate. You may commit Persistence to a skill test from your discard pile. If you do, shuffle into your deck after this test ends. Super simple, super basic. It's just a skill you can use from your discard pile.
It's just fine, yeah. All right, we got our first, maybe only ally. I don't remember.
I think it's our only ally.
Oh, yeah. Devil, friend or foe. It's a 1-cost asset, costs 2 experience, commits for a foot. It's an ally, creature, and cursed. Can soak 3 hearts and no brains. Force, at the beginning of your turn, you move 1 damage from your investigator to devil, which synergizes really well with taking damage for other people because it's not healing, you're moving it.
Yeah.
And then when Devil dies, it deals 2 damage to each enemy and each investigator location, which is probably going to include you.
Yep.
But still, you get to like heal net 1.
Yep. And it only costs 1.
Yeah, and it's free damage.
Yep.
I think it's good.
I think it's good. I mean, like, realistically, you can also game it a bit like if, for example, you're wearing, say, a leather coat, and that is what Devil blows up, right?
Yeah, like, oh darn.
Yep.
Or, your leather coat, you just throw it away. Yeah, good stuff.
Because you have another one you can just put into play, right?
I thought you were going to say hunting. I thought you meant hunting jack. Because why are all the coats in this game the same thing? We have, like... There's
leather coat, leather jacket. Yeah.
There's like 4 or 5 cards that are all the same, like, piece of clothing made from the same material.
Yes.
Anyway, I'm going to talk about Fire Axe and Mariner's Compass here together. Because they kind of go together a little bit. Fire Axe is a 1-cost asset that is 2 experience. Mariner's Compass is 2 and 2 experience. They each commit for 2 of their symbols. And then they each have the similarity that when you do their thing, if you don't have any money, you get to do an extra damage or get an extra clue. You can also spend money during the attack or investigation to get a skill bonus. So the Mariner's Compass is really only here if you're looking at either playing a dedicated Dark Horse build, which we'll get to on the next slide, I hope, or if you are more likely if you're leaning towards the assistant side of Hank, because you can make use of that 3 book. Fire Axe is also good in that build, but also good when you have 6 Fist, and you might have a little bit more of a difficult time having no resources if you're getting resources for taking damage for people. But luckily you can turn that into even more fist.
Yeah. I mean, like, the Fire Axe, I think, is... you
should also put this in your deck.
Yeah, you definitely don't need to be building around Dark Horse to take advantage of Fire Axe, but just be aware with Fire Axe, you'll potentially get into a loop where all of your resources are going to that and you might not get anything else. However, if only there was a card that allowed you to bank economy when you needed to, Travis.
Yeah.
Like Hunting Jacket.
Yeah, like Hunting Jacket. Yeah, that's our next card. It costs 2 resources to play, and then it takes 2 experience to put in your deck. And it soaks for 2 hearts and 2 brains. The only card in this list that soaks for 2 brains.
Let's go.
Yeah, so this is like your leather coat, except that it's like more. It's nicer. It's like double layered or whatever.
Yeah.
And then it also like feels warmer, which is why it's got the scent. You feel more secure.
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's not actually any stronger than the leather coat.
It's all just like you're like it's all just in your head.
Yeah. Anyways, the lightning bolt, you can exhaust it to choose a non-weakness card in your hand and attach it face down to the hunting jacket to a maximum of 3. And then you gain a resource for each card attached. And as a reaction, when the hunting jacket is defeated, you draw each attached card. So it's a great way to store your cards for later. It's like effective card draw, kind of. And then you get money.
It can hold your pelt shipments.
Yeah, you can hold those for later in the scenario. Speaking of pelt shipment, these cards, you'll notice, none of them are upgrades. All cost like 1 experience when you got pelt shipment. Makes including the fire axe, the mayor's compass, like transitioning those different
the hatchet,
builds,
yeah, like very
super
easy. Yep, super easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hunting jacket's really good. You should play that one.
Yes. Yeah.
It's Dark Horse.
It's Dark Horse. I'll you tell you.
No, you talk about
I'll
Dark
do
Horse.
core.
You can do core too. You should talk about Dark Horse, Justin.
Okay.
The resurgence.
It's
of
gonna
the classic
return.
archetype.
It is. So Dark Horse, it came out originally in Dunwich. There was a 3-cost version that was an asset you put into play. Limit 1 per investigator. Not limit 1 per deck, which was the level 5 version we're talking about here. However, the level 5 version is now permanent. So the big problem with Dark Horse was that you sometimes just didn't get Dark Horse, right?
Yeah.
Like the thing that your archetype was built around, Dark Horse just like didn't exist, you know? Now it always exists. So during your upkeep, you may choose not to gain resources, and while you have no resources in your resource pool, you get +1 to all of your stats. So now, 7 Fist. 7, just with his axe, just.
Yeah. He's like, I can throw this hatchet so fucking hard.
Dude, and I mean, like, even with the freaking, like, Flex Mariner's Compass, like, 4 book, and just, like, going with that.
Oh, yeah, like 4, 4, 5, 5's an insane stat line.
Like, yeah. And which actually makes that version of him make more sense, right, if you're going Dark Horse.
Yeah.
But, like, Dark Horse, it's super easy to trigger. Your deck, you do need to kind of like somewhat be aware of you're going for Dark Horse if you're going to go look at like if you're going for Dark Horse, you probably could stand to lose the Cunning Distraction and all that, right? Just because like 5 is really high, 1 and 2 is easy to still work with, but like 3 gets a little bit harder.
And that's totally fine, right? Like you need cards to take out your deck for your Mariners Compass and your Fire Axes.
Exactly,
so
right?
easy.
Yeah, and you just look at like how do I keep my curve low on the lower end? It doesn't have to be low. It doesn't have to be like bottom. But you just have to be aware of it.
It also plays really well with the hunting jacket where you can control when you get your resources.
Yeah. Like insanely good with that.
Yeah. And if you are going to play Dark Horse, would recommend you try and bully whoever. I mean, you probably won't have to bully them too hard. If someone's playing Rogue, to play either Faustian Bargain if you have
Bank Job.
or Bank Job from the new set, which is 2 actions and like 2 money. And then you get to divvy up 8 resources among investigators at your location, so they can always just give you the exact amount that you need to play your new baseball bat or whatever without throwing off your Dark Horse.
Yeah. All right, let's go on to the core cards here. This is actually pretty simple. Notably, there is some soak. So I'm actually going to start
Thank God.
with the Bulletproof Vest and the Elder Sign Amulet. They soak for 4 and 4. Notably, the accessory slot for Elder Sign Amulet, only competition we have was Rabbit's Foot. And as you remember back earlier in this video where Travis was like, I don't know, I guess you'll fail some tests.
You'll draw the auto-fail once in a while.
It's a pretty easy replacement. So like going to the Elder Sign is pretty easy.
2 experience each.
Exactly, right? Because the pelt shipment. And if you ever can swing it so you can get both pelt shipments in your hand at the end of the scenario.
God, it's free.
It's free. Well, not free. It's
No,
1.
it's free.
It's free. Sorry. So if you're looking for Soak, this is where you want to go. Eucatastrophe is a 2-cost, 3 experience event. Play one or a Chaos token would reduce your skill value to 0 during a skill test, including the autofill token. Cancel that token and treat it as an Elder Sign token instead, so you too can get a +1. However, with that said, I think that this is quietly very good for Hank, because I think that Hank is going to feel retaliate more than like any other fighter, right? Like a bad retaliate against a boss enemy could just like just be really bad to come back from. And I also think Hank is going to play worse with trauma. Because I do think you want to spend as much time as this and then go into your final version for like the last third of the scenario, right? So I think that Catastrophe is very good at like protecting you during attacks.
Yeah, being able to eat like a auto fail or a string of like several curse tokens in a row, having a panic button for that is also I think very important for Hank with this card pool, because your weapons are so high impact. Like
Yes.
Missing a pitchfork attack sucks. Missing a hatchet attack sucks. This prevents you from breaking your baseball bat, right? Because it's a star instead.
Yeah.
I'm right about that.
As far as I'm aware, yes.
Good. like drawing an auto fail is going to suck harder for Hank on attack than for most other investigators, and this makes it so that don't happen.
Yep. Is that Bryn or Russ? Bryn's on his way.
Probably Russell.
We got emergency cash. This is 0 cost, 2 experience, gain 3 resources, draw a card. We need card draw, and this is a way to get money. Turn our money into card draw as well. It replaces itself.
Yeah, you could also take emergency cash out of your deck and then put these in for reduced cost when you realize that's a stupid idea.
There's Bryn! Bryn's here!
And Russell.
We got Will to Survive, a 4 cost event. Fast played on your turn. Do not reveal chaos tokens for the next skill test you perform. Kind of basically copy paste what we. This actually should be the upgraded version. I grabbed the wrong one.
That wasn't my fault.
No, it wasn't. It was my fault. Wow, it doesn't
Usually when there's error in these, it's because I put a card in the investigator can't play.
This one, it's going to be the upgraded version, which is
level 3.
It's level 3, and it's just all skill tests you perform.
Yeah.
Copy paste what we said with Catastrophe. The same kind of thing. Use this for like when you're fighting big enemies and just like pass it.
Super easy to pass a test when you get a 0 every time you have 6 fist.
Yeah. Upgraded Lucky. Still the same thing, but now you get to draw a card to replace it when you do use it. And then we have Aquana, who soaks for 4 horror.
Yep.
Which is like why she's here.
Yep.
You can exhaust her when an enemy attacks you to deal a horror to her. Deal that enemy's damage to another enemy at your location. You still take the horror dealt by the attack, put it on Aquana. You also can do the upgraded version is you deal that enemy's damage to any enemy at your location instead. So the level 1 version has to be 2 enemies there, but the level 3 version, it can be that same enemy.
Yep. This does help also mitigate those retaliate attacks that Justin said can be so devastating to you. This is if you're really feeling those, like this is a way around that.
Yep, definitely. And I think that's it. Hi, Russell. You came to say goodbye, hello at the end?
Hi.
Hi. That's Hank Samson, and that is the last of these new player guides for Hemlock Vale.
Hi.
So I hope you enjoyed them, and we look forward to seeing all these guys in action, and then looking back and being like...
What about the green one?
Well, it's the last one for the release, not the last one we recorded. It's the last one for them,
okay.
Not us. For YouTube time. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
YouTube time.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a good one, and as always, GG's.